Hello out there. Welcome to Your Next Mission video podcast. Normally we focus on one topic each show, but today will be a little bit different. We'll be celebrating Martin Luther King Day and discussing Dr. King's legacy with a pair of remarkable twin sisters, both colonels in the United States Army. But we'll also be talking with them about an amazing program they founded to mentor young women who will become future leaders in the United States Army. I promise you, it'll be interesting and inspiring. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Your Next Mission video podcast, where we tell the stories of those who have served in the past and those who are serving today. From transition to financial wellness, VA benefits to mental health, we cover issues facing veterans, active military, and their families. Now here's your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army and co-founder of the American Freedom Foundation, Jack L. Tilley.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks to all of our veterans, service members, and their families for their service to our great country. Now, before we get started, I personally want to thank our presenting sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union, whose members are the mission, and Purdue Global, where you can start your comeback, and USAA, whose mission take care of the military community and their families always, with additional sponsorship from Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental and Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Vision. Together, they make your next mission happen. They love our veterans and families. You listen to the show anytime. We love them too. Today, we'll be going to cover two topics with two guests, and I'm excited to introduce them right now. Meet United States Army Colonel Clydea Prichard-Brown and United States Army Colonel Clydellia Prichard-Allen, twin sisters who founded and run the Female Mentoring and Morale Program, also called FMMP. It is a grassroots initiative within the United States Army. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sergeant Major.
Thank you so much.
You guys look so good on the show. I mean, I could probably turn it off right now. We get ready to go here. Hey, we got a lot to talk about. Before we get started, I'd like each one of you to tell us just a little bit about yourself. And let's start with whichever twin sister was born first. I'm not sure who that is. Okay, go ahead. You're first.
Well, as the big sister and 3 minutes older, so I get to celebrate my birthday 3 minutes before her.
There you go.
But the first part of this is always going to start with a we. So we were born in Gary, Indiana, and I will tell you, being born in Gary, Indiana, we were raised in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're really Hoosiers, but we're Georgia peaches at the same time. And so, so I'll just jump right into, we graduated high school at 16 years old. Both of us, and we had a single mom. So we went straight to college at 16, but after 3 years of college, we ran out of money. And so actually, Delia, my sister's going to tell you about how she joined the military, but I enlisted in the Army in 1991 and became a traffic management coordinator, 80th November, to finish college, to try to say Uncle Sam's going to help us pay for college. In doing so, it was kind of hard to finish college as an enlisted soldier, so I found the Green and Gold Scholarship Program. And then was able to go in, finish college as a cadet, graduated with honors, graduated as a distinguished military graduate from Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis, graduated as a transportation officer right back in the field of transportation, and then became just enthralled in the military life, enjoyed serving, enjoyed giving back to the community. Well, I'm honored to say I have an awesome husband, Eric Up the Grove Sr., who is Sergeant First Class retired. He's actually my second husband. I was married for 20 years, divorced for 8, and then found love again. And I have two amazing children, a 24-year-old son, Zion Brown, and a beautiful 18-year-old college student daughter, Zaria. And I'm currently the first Theater Sustainment Command's Chief of Staff.
Well, say hello to your husband, because he's the non-commissioned officer.
Absolutely,
like Hey, Colonel Allen, go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
So as she started, we always say we when we start the first part of that. But I'm going to skip over to when I came in the military. Now, I came in 1989 as an enlisted soldier as well. But I was as a reservist because I found the student loan repayment program. And that's where she had shared with you that my mom, single parent, didn't have a lot of money. So I found that program to help us through paying off all of my college bills. Ended up falling in love with it. Went from enlisted reserve to listed active duty. Instead of just staying reserve, I listed active duty. Came in as a signal soldier. When I came signal, I went chemical when I came in from the active duty side. And as she mentioned, as we continued on the enlisted side, realized that, you know what, we want to still get that degree. And so I went green to gold a year after she went to green to gold. She actually turned me on to the green to gold program. So I went green to gold, and I went to South Carolina State University in South Carolina, in Orangeburg, South Carolina. Graduated with a psychology degree and graduated as well as a distinguished military graduate. Came in as an AG officer, AG all the way, and served a number of different assignments under AG as a human resources manager. Had 2 deployments under my belt, and I think Dia might have mentioned, or if she didn't, both deployed twice. I did Desert Shield, Desert Storm, so that was way back when I was enlisted. And then I went and deployed with in the OIF under Afghanistan, OEF. Have, again, a wonderful career, enjoyed it. In addition to that, I have some side jobs, when we're out of uniform. And so marketing director for the Faith City Bible Institute, Dee's House of Hope, Bikers Against Domestic Violence, and then as a Faith City Central. I have a wonderful husband as well. He's also enlisted. He was a retired Sergeant First Class as well. And then I have 2 beautiful children as well. A son, Michael Allen Jr. He's actually an airman in the Air Force, 24 years old, and an airman down in Langley Air Force Base. And I have a daughter as well, 18 years old. First year of college, she's a freshman. And so, we have our hands full. So that's just a little bit about us and our personal lives.
Well, no, I got to tell you something. Enlisted non-commissioned officers that go to the other side, the other side, become officers. They're either real good or they're not so good. I got to be honest with you right there. But I think what you did is you guys are really smart. You went out and married 2 Sergeant First Classes that keep you grounded there. So that's
there you go.
And Sergeant Major, I don't know if you caught it, but we both have the same age children. So our sons are 7 months apart and our daughters are 5 months apart. But we didn't plan it. That's just God being funny and saying, instead of making you have twins, your kids are going to be just like twins.
But that's really important. If they're the same age, they'll play with each other, and they can talk to each other. So I think that's really pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
First of all, you've already got me pumped up. I don't know if I can do anything else right now. Now Colonel Prichard-Brown, how did you happen to start the FMMP program? Why did you start it?
So I started it because, as we talked about, entered the military as a private first class, reached the rank of sergeant promotable myself, and experienced several different challenges growing through the military. But our mom made us very strong. So we spoke our mind. And we were able to, be courageous enough to talk to our leadership if there was anything wrong. But as we grew in through the military, learning that there were several women that did not have a voice, who needed assistance, who needed support, and if nothing else, needed motivation. So I created the Female Mentor Morale Program. Years later, when I went to Fort Gregg Adams as one of the only 3 female colonels right there on the installation. 13 different women came to me at different times asking for mentorship. And so I brought them all together because I'm sure whatever I would say to one was going to resonate with the other. That grew from 13 women to the first chapter of the FMMP started on 6 March of 2020. And I'll just have to say that was a month and a few days before we learned of Vanessa Gillian. And so I bring that up because the platform that I started, we now are at 62 chapters, with our most recent chapter starting just this Sunday that just passed in the Reserve Command, which we have a Reserve Command headquarters chapter. With that, the program has taken off. We have Sec Army endorsement. Honorable Warmoth, former Chief of Staff of the Army, was General McConville, who was there when we started it, and we've received so much support since then and are continuing to grow. And we want to go joint as well. So it's about giving back, making sure people understand it's an all-inclusive program where men and women come together to make sure women reach their full potential.
Yeah, it's really funny about that when you talk about mentorship of females. I remember when I was a division sergeant major, I had the first brigade level sergeant major that was a female at DISCOM. And one day I said to her, I says, how do I treat you? She said, like everybody else. And their point was, I wasn't really asking for that. I just said, what, do I need to communicate a little bit differently. And she didn't want me to, if I'm wrong, you tell me I'm wrong. And I thought that was important because guys like me, when women first got into different MOSs within the military, it was sort of a struggle because you didn't want to offend them in any way, but you wanted to make sure that they was, got the credit when they was doing something. You treated them fairly and stuff. So it was a growing phase. It was a growing phase for me, but I just treat them like everybody else. And I think that's what most people need to do anyway. Hey, Colonel Prichard-Allen, what was your role? Okay, what was your role in helping your sister get the FMMP off the ground? I mean, what did you do?
So the minute she shared with me what she was trying to do down there, we of course saw the need for it. Everywhere we've been on our assignments, we've always tried to help mentor.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I was stationed at the Pentagon, and I have quite a few senior mentors. She and I have been blessed to have senior mentors that have just imparted wisdom into our careers. Well, I saw that this was an opportunity for me to take advantage of my relationships. And so I started knocking on senior leaders' doors and saying, hey, I want to introduce a program to you that my sister started at Fort Gregg Adams, then Fort Lee. But what I want to make sure that we do is provide the insight to them. And so that's what we did. I actually sat down. The first person I went to was one of my most important mentors, General Brito, Gary Brito.
Oh, yeah,
he was the
guy.
G1 at the time. Absolutely. And Sergeant Major, he said, let's do it. Who else do I need to pull into these conversations? And from there, he helped me get into a number of the offices. Actually was able to, as she mentioned, actually set up an appointment with the Secretary of the Army, shared with her the importance of this program. And so when he shared that, he helped us create that timeline to sit down with her. And Sergeant Major, when I tell you, she was completely sold on it. And so in addition to speaking with her, we went across the Pentagon talking to as many leaders as we could and had gotten extremely good support for it, even to the point where we had a conversation at the OSD level. And so just took advantage of the opportunity being in the Pentagon and saw that we wanted to help them understand the importance of creating a program that would be enduring. But one of the things that we knew that if with the Secretary of Army's endorsement, what she shared with us is instead of making it a program because it would catch you up in the bureaucracy of programs for the military, she wanted to help allow us to be an initiative. And that's one of the things that has allowed us to continue to build this platform without being caught up in being pulled in for conversations of possibly not being approved at all. And so that's definitely one of the things that I took advantage of because I wanted to not only support her, but we saw the need for the military to go through and have something of this nature to be able to offer to female soldiers and leaders.
Yeah, one of the things, as you're talking, I'm thinking about everybody's not a good mentor. So is there a way that you evaluate well, I guess let me go back a little bit. If you have somebody in your program, do they pick their mentor? Not you assign them a mentor. Go ahead, either one of you.
So the good thing about the program is because we established chapters all around the Army in organizations and commands, our focus is ensuring that the leaders provide the mentors. And what we do is we say you have to have coaching and mentoring skills because you're absolutely right. Not everybody is a good coach or mentor. No. But the leadership, we empower the leadership to say, how are you engaging with your soldiers so that they know you care? You as a leader, we as leaders. Now, because we're the ones that have to hold ourselves accountable for providing that safe environment and non-attributable environment where people can come to us and be able to address concerns. And so for mentorship, we advise, we have a matter of fact, we have a coaching liaison on our executive board. We have an executive board of 10 people who provide the monthly support where we have every fourth Thursday of the month, we provide the oversight and guidance, as well as our senior leaders that join in on our sessions. But we ensure that soldiers know they can come to these sessions and then they choose their mentor based off of what makes them feel comfortable. Yeah. We don't believe in assigning mentors because I can assign you someone that does not fit the bill for what you need emotionally, personally, and professionally.
So what if you assign me somebody and I say, yeah, I want that person, and then all of a sudden I'm with them a couple of months and say, well, this isn't working out. So they can go somewhere else then?
Absolutely. The beauty of the program is because the chapters we have in-person and virtual sessions where they can come to many different people, we always recommend having more than one mentor. I myself started out with having 3 mentors, one that looked like me, one that didn't look like me, and definitely one that was definitely an opposite gender, so a male mentor. But we tell people you have so many mentors that have different ways to feed your soul. And so if that one mentor is meeting one need or doesn't meet all your needs, we recommend and we also provide names and offer opportunities to connect mentors with them so that they can have another mentor. And we never limit you to one
You know, it's
person.
really funny.
It's always best to get different views.
You know, it's really funny you say that because I tell everybody all the time you should have 3 to 4. When you're getting out, 3 to 4, because one person may solve that problem, and one people may talk about this. So you got to have the right. And you know, who the best mentor I've always found to be for me personally is my wife. My
That's
spouse.
a great mentor.
Well, I mean, but you talk a lot with your spouses back and forth. That really helps you out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, Colonel Prichard-Brown, what are the top 3 issues that FMMP helps and members with? What are the top 3?
Well, the top 3 have always been about helping them find their identity, helping them find a voice in an environment where there may be one of only a handful of women in the room. You get, and I appreciate you bringing up when you talked about the sergeant major, first female sergeant major that you worked with. You were concerned about what she thought and how you addressed her and how you respected her. There are several people, as you know, we churn people in and out of the military. They come in, they serve their time. It's funny, I was a former brigade commander of an AIT unit, Advanced Individual Training Unit. And so every time we received a new batch of soldiers, I say batch of soldiers, we had to refocus them, reprogram from maybe some bad habits they learned when they were growing up. And so we had to focus them on dignity and respect with the people that they're in. So the women that have come to us have expressed maybe they're in their environments, maybe you're alienated because they don't understand, they're not speaking the same language. And some of the people that come in don't address them or probably saying inappropriate comments that are very disrespectful or harmful. The second thing that we address is ensuring that they understand as we address harmful behaviors, we help them find their voice. And we also provide that leadership. You know, PFC Prichard would have loved to have a Colonel Prichard-Brown she could call and say, ma'am, I'm having these issues. Who do I go to? So harmful behaviors of sexual harassment or sexual assault, discrimination, and heaven forbid, either one of those leads to suicide. So the 3 harmful behaviors that the Army focuses on preventing, we also help them find ways to address them. And then finally, understanding that education opportunities are so important. Most of the time, a lot of soldiers don't even realize that the opportunities that are sitting right in front of them that may be getting offered to their counterparts, they don't know how to either ask for those same opportunities or they're afraid. So we find ways to say, let me talk to your leadership, help you find your voice in talking to them. And then we educate and mentor them so that they can grow into the next Colonel Prichard-Brown and Colonel Prichard-Allen, ready to give back to the next generation.
Yeah, you know, you covered on a lot of great topics right there. One of the things that I was a drill sergeant twice, once at Fort Polk and once at Fort Benning. And I also was a correctional custody supervisor up at Fort Lewis, Washington. So I've learned to, I think, pretty good to read people, especially when I was in the Army, about attitude, how they're feeling, and all that other stuff. But it's all in how you communicate with that person, and give them the respect to talk back to you, to talk and give you some recommendations. And I used to tell people all the time, it doesn't matter if you're a private or a general, everybody has an idea, so you need to listen to that idea. But if you're the leader, then you make that final decision. Colonel Allen, Prichard-Allen, you want to add anything to that, ma'am? You want to add anything to your sister's comment?
I think she said the most important part for this is understanding how, with the program, one of the things that we've committed to is helping take action. And that's one of the most significant things that I think this program has yielded the results. Taking action by saying we're picking up the phone, we're picking up and calling leaders to assist these young ladies and young men and young leaders with addressing these concerns. And that's one of the things that, if not only do we have the ability to give them the mentoring or ensure that we give them kind of an understanding of how they can address the concerns, but then we help walk them through the process. We help walk them through, because that's probably the second most challenging part for them. One, to identify that they have an issue and try to speak out about it. But then the second part is how do they navigate through it? If we're giving them the guidance to walk through and say, hey, listen, bring this to someone's attention, open your mouth, say something about it. But then if they're walking by themselves, they're afraid, they're scared, and they may not even go through the full process. And so we've committed to saying, we're going to be there with you from beginning to end.
Yeah.
We're going to ensure that your voice is heard. And if your voice isn't heard, we're going to make sure they hear our voice and then put you back up in front to say, okay, now this is on behalf of this soldier or this civilian, because it's both military and civilian. So absolutely just ensuring that that we address these behaviors and we address these in a prompt, timely manner as well. And that's one of the most significant concerns that's been brought to our attention.
Well, I used to tell people about 90% of leadership is just being approachable, allowing people to talk to you, being communicative. I've worked with, years ago, I worked with people when I was in the military that would go in, close their door, and not talk to anybody, and then come out and yell at you for something and close their door again. So, hey, this is, it's a great discussion because it talks about really the basic fundamentals of taking care of people. And being, I was trying to think of the right words. Soldiers don't care. Soldiers don't care unless they know you care. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that before.
Absolutely.
Because they know whether or not you really care about their success in the military and their upper mobility, so they can get promoted. And you need to push, like you said before, push education. Keep talking to them and let them know that you care about. Ma'am, Colonel Brown, you want to say that?
Well, I was going to say one of our main mantras, and definitely here as the 1st Theater Sustainment Command Chief of Staff, also where we have another, we have a chapter here established. My mantra is being positively intrusive.
Yeah.
So leaders have to be positively intrusive, meaning, and I joke with people, I say, and when they ask me, what does that mean? I say, I want to be positive and positively get all up in your business.
Yeah.
I want to know how you're doing. I want to ask you the questions and sit and listen to the answers, because most of the time soldiers want to be heard and civilians want to be heard. And so if we don't do that, they don't feel we care. Now, I don't know how many times you walk past and somebody says, good morning, and good morning. Yeah. And you don't take the time to sit and listen to how their weekend went. So leaders taking the time to listen and actually hear the challenge or the problem and not being afraid to address it is what we focus on with the leaders that are involved in this program.
Yeah, when I worked in the Pentagon, I used to walk by general officers all the time, and I'd say good morning. If they didn't say anything to me, I'd stop and say, good morning, sir. And they'd say, oh, Sergeant Major, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, I'm sorry, because they're so focused on something else. But it's the other thing I tell you, you live in a glass house, and they're going to watch everything you do and everything you don't do. So if you come to work late or you don't do PT or you don't do whatever, they're going to do that. They're going to just say, hey, this is a great discussion, but we need to take a quick break. Before we do that, I want to make one point clear about FMMP, both of you as well as the entire executive board and all your volunteers. Right? I mean, you're all volunteers, correct?
Yes.
Yes, Sergeant Major.
Yeah. Everybody's a volunteer.
We have a great saying, Sergeant Major. We call it our side hustle. We're doing it because we want to do it. It's something we have a passion for it. And so all of our executive board members are volunteers, and we're all spread out around the world. I mean, we're overseas who want to be a part of a program that says, how can I give back? And so it's all about how do we lead the next generation and our current generation? How do we help them be better to want to continue to serve in this uniform?
Are they enlisted and
officer? Serve with this uniform.
Are they enlisted and officer too? Are your volunteers?
Yes, they are. And civilians. So we have a retired sergeant major. We have a DA civilian who retired out of the military, out of working for the government, and enlisted and a warrant officer too.
All right. One last question. We're going to take a break. Does your spouses get involved with this program?
So our spouses are probably the most supportive individuals. And not only that, sometimes they'll sit in and listen. Our kids will listen in, but our husbands have been not only supportive, they can only imagine the things that we've seen and been through. Yeah. So they're like, look, you're giving back. Yeah. And oh, by the way, we have daughters and sons. So how are we showing them, exemplifying for them how to just be nice coworkers, friends, and be a shoulder to lean on if they're ever needed. Well, so they're very supportive.
Well, first of all, I don't want to take a break, but we got to take a break. when I come back, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to be talking about the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So don't go anywhere. I know you're not going to go. So don't stay right there. I'll be right back. This is Your Next Mission video podcast with me, your host, Jack L. Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major of the Army. If you're enjoying this discussion, and you got to be, because we're talking about development, growth, and we're talking about how do you make better leaders within the United States Army, please like us. Click on that subscribe button below, and be sure to click on the bell to receive notifications of all of our upcoming video podcast releases. I'll be right back after a word from our presenting sponsors.
You're watching Your Next Mission video podcast, proudly presented by Navy Federal Credit Union, the most trusted credit union owned by members of the military community, serving all branches of the armed forces and their families. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Their members are the mission. Purdue Global. You're ready for a comeback, and with Purdue Global, you can do more than take classes. You can take charge of your story, of your career, of your life. Earn a degree you can be proud of and get an education employers respect. Start your comeback at purdueglobal.edu. And USAA.
A promise is a trust not to be broken, whether spoken with an oath or sealed with a pinky. And after 100 years, we're still taking care of the military community and their families. That's our mission, always.
Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back. We're talking with United States Army Colonel Clydea Prichard-Brown and Colonel Clydella Prichard-Allen. Before we get back to our discussion, I want to let you know about a way you can support the work we're doing on behalf of our veterans and families here at the American Freedom Foundation. If you have a used vehicle you're planning to get rid of, or some property you don't have any plans for, you can donate it. Visit our website, the American Freedom Foundation /donate, and click on the vehicle donation button or the home donation button to support our work. We really appreciate your support. As we celebrate and remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. this week, I have a question I'd like each of you to answer. And let's start with Colonel Prichard-Allen. How did the things Dr. King taught and the way he lived his life influence you personally?
My mother used to share with us some of the impactful things that he did. His speech, of course, everyone knows his speech. One of the most important things and impactful things that I kind of pulled from him, even growing up, was that he was humble. He was a man of faith. He was a high achiever. He graduated from high school at 15 years old. He went on to college and graduated at 19 from college. Now, one of the things that he instilled in us and instilled in those of us as a people was to be others driven. And I say others driven, meaning your life is much bigger than yourself. And so one of the things that I've always taken from that is how do we impact others? What do we do and what do we say to others to show them that, one, they can be great leaders, they can impact others with their lives. And that's one of the things that he showed me. He showed that was humble. He was a man of pure faith in the sense of being able to help others understand and respect each other, respect the content and the character of another person, and then to understand nonviolence is the key. If you're going to fight for justice, which is one of the things that we're concerned about, fighting for justice, fighting for equality, standing up for those who are not able to stand up for themselves. Those are the qualities and the traits that my mother instilled as we were growing up, and then as we continued serving it, and as I've served in the military, that's what I've kind of followed. I'm a woman of faith. I'm a woman that understands equality. I'm one that respects those that are different than I am, and that's one of the things that I think just instills that passion in me. And I pass it on to my daughter. I pass it on to my son, and I try to pass it on to those that I mentor. And so he's impacted it in so many ways, just continuing to see what he's done, what he's continuing to do, even in his passing, but it's his legacy that lives on.
I think one of the things, too, that we have to do is tell our story. And I think people, one of the things I always tell this story about a young female, happened to be a black female, and when I was in Freiburg, Germany, I was a division sergeant major, and I said, hey, you need to get a haircut because your hair is too long. And she said, Sergeant Major, I'll just take it out. I said, what? Take it out. And she sat down, and I said, sit down and tell me what you're talking about. She said, well, I don't wash my hair every week. I watched, and she explained to me more stuff that I knew about a black female hair, in about 2 or 3 minutes that I ever knew in my life. And I think it's important for us to ask those questions. And just, you said a long time ago about saying things that you thought were okay when you were as a kid, and then you come to the Army and says, no, you're not supposed to say that. But we need to educate each other about the differences and the ways of life that we just probably personally don't understand in some cases. Colonel Brown, you want to add anything?
Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head when it means to understand those around you. We're absolutely a diverse country. And yes, our history is a history of how we as African Americans, as Black people, as Hispanics, so many different nationalities and races that come together in one country. He taught us how to peacefully stand our ground and stand up for our rights, because we all have to be treated equally if we're going to be equal. If we're going to say that the Constitution is for everyone, if we're going to say that our founding fathers look and give Americans same treatment, equal treatment, but we're not actually doing that, how are we truly living up to a dream? And as my sister said about We Have a Dream, his of course, monumental speech, the goals of understanding that the character of an individual is what you should judge them on, not their skin color, not their gender. Nothing of those are what make a person. We were born this way, and we will live this way, and we will die this way. And we should all be proud of how we were born. His goal was to ensure that we all understood everyone has value. This year marks the 60th anniversary of this March on Selma. Had he not had the passion to say, I will stand for and I will stand against discrimination, I will stand for people and stand against discrimination, we would never have had a movement that would have allowed 2 Black female colonels to sit before you as senior leaders in the Army. And with the leaders that we have now that are African American or Black officers and senior non-commissioned officers and senior civilians, we would not have ever had the opportunity to be in this position had it not been for Dr. King's journey, and along with Dr. King, Rosa Parks. Had they not stood the ground and said, I will take a stand against tyranny or take a stand against discrimination, we would not be sitting here with you today, able to speak so freely with you and make you a part of our family. So just know your adoption papers are in the mail. You'll be a part of our family from now on.
I got it. Well, one of the things I also tell people all the time is not one time in my life, because I've been to a lot, I deployed a lot in my life, not one time did I ask what color somebody was to my left or right. I don't really care. As long as you can do your job. And I never, I don't know how I figured it out, but I figured out as a young soldier that we need to represent the Army. So when I put color guards together, I always made sure it was a male, a female, a Black, a white, Hispanic. So it's a mixture of what the Army looks like. And I think sometimes people lose sight of that. And then again, the other thing I think is really important is communications. We have when we have speeches and we talk about these kind of things, we ought to be people that look like me to get out there and give a speech and talk, because you can't just talk to yourselves. You need to educate people about the differences. Absolutely. So we're smart as we go along. What do you think, or what do you imagine that Dr. King would think about the state of our country right now? And Colonel Brown, we'll start with you. What do you think the state of our country, what do you think he'd say?
I would want to say he would be so happy and overjoyed at how we've come together as a people, but I can't say that.
Yeah, okay.
I think he would be very concerned and disappointed where we've come from to and now are going back. The discord that is currently facing us with political rivalries. The Army and the military are apolitical. We serve at the needs of the president, whatever president is in the office. However, as we've seen, and we know about January 6th, and we know about so many different things that have happened where the races, the nationalities we're now being judged again on them. Would I say it's ever been gone away? Discrimination has ever gone away? No, absolutely not. However, the fear right now is that we have turned backwards and are going back, and now we're being more separated in the country based on political lines, which seem to always turn to race lines. And it's not just African Americans or Black, it is Hispanic. There are so many different challenges we're facing today based on the political party that's in the office. It shouldn't matter the political party, because the political parties should be looking out for the people. As the FMMP program does, we focus on the people first strategy that the Army focuses on. The people first strategy is no matter what your gender or race is, we want to focus on you and making you the best American, making you the best soldier, civilian that you can be, because ultimately you're going to be productive for our society.
Yeah. Colonel Allen, I want you to answer that same question in a minute, but I want to go back and say something you said. I think that sometimes we use that race card in the wrong way. I think we use it too often. If you say it all the time, then it doesn't mean anything sometimes. But I think that some people just throw it out there to try to stir up the pot just a little bit. I also think that another problem is I think our news media around the country do that too doggone much. But again, as the military, there should be a fence up right there. You know, we're sort of a melting pot. Let everybody stay on this side, we'll stay on this side, and we're not going to listen to these guys too much. But I think sometimes, again, they're just throwing that word out, and I think there's a lot of people that, I mean, personally, I think the country's went a long ways. I think we've had hiccups. We're always going to have hiccups, but I think it's just a hiccup or speed bump, and it'll go back to normal. I think we just got to quit talking about what's bad. Let's talk about what's good. Colonel Allen, about you? Want to say anything about that? What do you think?
I couldn't have said that any better. And I was just going to share, I was going to caveat of what my sister said. I think it would be pleased in where we as a race have come as far as trying to build and empower each other.
Yeah.
But just like you mentioned, there are times when we can actually, and not just in an African and American community, but we've got to be able to recognize that we sometimes use our race as a, hey, look at me, maybe you're treating me differently, as opposed to recognizing, okay, what are we doing to help continue building our community? What are we doing to help continue strengthening and mentoring our community? And then how are we presenting ourselves? And that's one of the things I think he tried to instill in us. How do you present yourself? What is your character? What are you presenting to others? But just like we said, we're in a hiccup, and I'll use that just like you said, Sergeant Major. We're in a hiccup. This is our time, and this is one of the things that I think has been very concerning that he would be heartbroken about. We're now in a more violent state of mind. We have seen more than ever. You see children being murdered. You see so many things happening. And what was his mantra? Nonviolence.
Yeah.
And so we can sit down and have a conversation. We can sit down and talk about our differences. And that's part of the challenge that we see today. And even in that hiccup, that's one of the things that I know he would be like, okay, why can't we sit down and talk? Why can't we have that conversation and really celebrate our differences? And so I think both what my sister was saying is the discord that's going on, the unfortunate mindset that we have of, I look at you and I've already determined who you are and how I treat you and how I respect or disrespect you. And so I think he would be in turmoil, bottom line. He'd be torn in his feelings.
Yeah.
Absolutely torn.
I've got a couple of things I want to say. One is I had a guy when I was a friend. In fact, he just called me a little while ago. I'll see him in a couple of days up in Washington State. But when I was a young kid, he didn't like me. And every time I walked by him, he'd give me dirty looks. And I thought, geez, what did I do to him? What's wrong with him? And then when I got into, I think the 10th grade or something, like we had PE together or something, and we got to be friends. And then one day out of the blue, he said, I never did like you. And I said, why? He said, I don't know. Don't know why, but I didn't know. So that goes back to what we're talking about now is we need to, if you have a question, ask the question. If you don't know what you're saying, if you think you're saying something wrong, ask the question. And it goes both ways. It's just not one-sided. You got to ask on both sides of the way. The other thing is, I don't know, well, did you ever meet General Powell? Did you know General Powell by any chance?
We did. He was actually a mentor over our program. We were in the ROCS we're still in the ROCS organization, and he provided mentorship quite often. And I will tell you, you brought up a great point about when you all were younger, he didn't like you. He didn't know why he didn't like you, but he didn't like you. Most of the time we receive subliminal messages and receive education at home. My sister and I, she's actually a very active member in the church, where the pastor always says more is caught than taught. More is caught. So if certain things are being said at home, the children are going to be raised to say those same things. And so if maybe the person saw or heard something at home that critiqued you as a white male, or you heard something that critiqued him as a black male or a black family, you're going to grow up thinking that that's how it is. General Colin Powell was an absolute phenomenal leader, mentor, who had experienced so many challenges, but refused to allow those challenges to make him change who he was at heart. His character was above reproach. He was a phenomenal leader and role model for so many of us that say, wait, if he can do it, we can too.
Yeah.
So we don't have an excuse. We just have to put our minds to it.
Yeah, I got to tell you one thing is I met General Powell years ago, and I remember a story he told me. He said that he was in West Point. I guess it was West Point he went to, and he was selected for command. And he went in there, and one of his friends, which happened to be a white guy, came in and says, "Hey, they said you was only selected for command because you're a black guy, one minority." He said, "Let's go down there and talk to him about this." And General Powell said, "You've probably heard this story too." General Powell said, "I'm not going to go down and say anything to him. I'm going to show him why I was selected." And he was just a phenomenal person and a leader. Every time I got around him, he's just a wonderful guy. And like I said, I probably knew him for, I don't know, 15 years at least, or maybe more than that. But just a great guy. Quite frankly, I always thought he should run for president. But the reason he didn't, I was told that he had threats on his life there, so he didn't do it.
Right.
This has been a great discussion. We'll be right back after some final thoughts on both these topics. So stay right there. We'll be right back. Now, here's a word from another organization that helps make this show possible.
You're watching Your Next Mission video podcast, brought to you in part by Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental, Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Vision.
Part of transitioning out is that dental and vision insurance breaks off from your medical insurance.
Vision and dental is very important to be able to enjoy your retirement.
Blue Cross Blue Shield makes the transition so much easier.
Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back. We're blessed to be here today with Colonel Clydea Prichard-Brown and Colonel Clydella Prichard-Allen. Remember, this is your show. We know there's so many issues directly affect you, and we want to address each and every one of them. So please, as I've said many times, reach out to me. Tell us what topics you'd like us to cover. You can call or text me at 844-424-1134, or send me an email at SMA Tilley at yournextmission.org. And guess what? I'll reach back out to you. Before the break, we were talking about the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Do either of you have any final thoughts about him, or anything that you might want to, add or throw back or mention that maybe we haven't talked about already? And I guess Colonel Prichard-Allen, we'll start with you, ma'am.
Absolutely. I can tell you here again, with Martin Luther King's journey, his story has to be heard by all. It cannot be a legacy that's forgotten, because it helps encourage the next generation, those generations that believe because of their gender or their race, they are less than, or they're not entitled to the same opportunities and the same riches and rewards of growing in their community and in themselves. My final words would be, as we continue to celebrate this national holiday for the third person in the history behind Martin Luther King having been the third person to be named for a national holiday, to have this person as a monument, as a beacon of light, his journey, that's what helped us and motivated us to do the FMMP, to start a program that says it's not about race, it's about gender, but it's about still standing strong and standing your ground and making sure we give everyone around us the desire to want to succeed and reach their full potential, but we have to be afforded the same opportunity. So the way we lead our lives is by giving back. It's the opportunity for us to say, not only have we been blessed, but how can we bless someone else? And Martin Luther King has truly blessed us.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think just adding on to what you said, I think we have a tendency, again, to look at the negative versus the positive. In fact, there's a lot of things in my life and everybody's life that sort of gets, lopsided every once in a while, but you can't cover your head up. You can't look at the ground. Stand up straight and say, okay, that's life. I'm just going to move on and keep pushing. And I think somebody, they keep finding reasons why, well, I'm not selected, or I haven't gotten this, or I haven't did this. Well, I told you before, my goal in the Army was to make Spec 4. The other thing I tell you was I always stayed in my lane of responsibility. I never worried about, what's going on in Oregon. I can't worry about that. What's going on in Florida, I can worry about that because I live in Florida. But I sort of stayed in my lane of responsibility, and I think that's what we all need to do all the time versus trying to argue about something or trying to fix something we have no impact about. We also had a great discussion today about what you all like to call your job. Probably your side job, I guess is what you guys call it, FMMP. Colonel Prichard-Brown, do you want to have any final thoughts about that or anything you want to add to that we missed or want to share with the audience?
Sure do.
Go ahead.
I would love to, for anyone who would like to start a chapter in their area, in their organization, whether civilian or military, please reach out to us. One of the best ways to reach out to us is through the Army Women's Foundation, who we're partnered with. You'll see a full page on there about the Female Mentor Morale Program. And the reason we're partnered with the Army Women's Foundation is because they're a foundation that says we're going to continue to serve even after we come out of the military. But it's a foundation that celebrates women's accomplishments, celebrates women who have not only given their time and their service to them, their families, but to the country. And so we celebrate by connecting with the foundation to be able to continue to promote. They provide scholarships, they provide various things to allow women and men, but to allow women to continue to succeed and grow and get the education. Reaching out to us, you can Google us under the FMMP. You can always reach out to either myself, Colonel Clydea Prichard-Brown, or Colonel Clydella Prichard-Allen. Funny how you can Google us. I love saying that. You can Google us, and you can find our information out there. And please reach out directly to us, and we would love to help you get started. And if nothing else, love to help mentor you as well.
There you go. Colonel Prichard-Allen, how about yourself, man? You got anything to add there? Or you want to add?
Listen, we're just honored to be here. One of the things that I think that I always have as a takeaway is how do we present ourselves to others? How do we help show that example? My pastor often says you have to be others driven, meaning how do we help impact someone else's life? It's a bigger world. We can help impact it in a positive way. And I think that's what is one of the biggest takeaways that I have from Martin Luther King Jr. He said, how do I impact others' lives in a positive way? And that's one of the things that I think as we in this rank and in this position, how do we assist those that are coming up in the military, understand his impact and understand that we're representing him in so many things that we do and so how we speak to others, how we speak to each other. And so just an amazing time here with you, Sergeant Major, and just the opportunity to share with others that this program that we have is set just for that, to help mentor, help guide, help build leaders that are representatives of what his legacy was intended to be. So thank you so much, Sergeant Major, for that.
Well, I tell you guys are great role models, and I mean, what's nice about you is you're motivating. Your attitude, the way you come across, you're so enthusiastic about getting your information out. And you really, I gotta be honest with you, you'd probably be somebody I'd love to work with when I was still in the military, even now, work with you, because you're just a great person, or both of you are great people just to be around. And that's infectious. People like that. When they look at people that are positive and stuff, and they just sort of say, I want to be the same way. I want to do the same kind of thing. So I love that. Don't never change. I know you never will. Don't never change. The other thing I was thinking about is when we're talking about race relations and Dr. Martin Luther King, is I used to think to myself, I used to say, I probably don't have all the answers to anything, and I probably never will. But I always used to tell people, there's a lot of people as good as I am, but there's nobody better. And I sort of lived by that all my life. I'm gonna, just like pronouncing your names, trying to get your names correct. I'm going to mess it up. So what? I'm going to fall back, regroup, and push forward. And that's the way in life is. I mean, you got to keep moving. And don't worry about, when we talk about race relations, don't worry about if somebody looks at you and sort of talks down to you. I don't want to talk to you anyway. Just keep moving. Stay in your lane of responsibility. I just think what you guys are doing is unbelievable. I appreciate all that you do, not just for the military, really for our country. And I tell you, I'm going to make a prediction. When you get out of the military, wherever you go, you'll make a tremendous impact in your community. And you're the kind of people that I'd like to see run for Congress or the Senate or something like that one day, and get up there and start talking about things and issues. But remember, we're all in a melting pot. We got to treat everybody with dignity and respect. And that's what we need to do, continue to do. Again, I want to thank you so much for being with us today and talking about your program, the FMMP, and celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. What a wonderful man that did so much for our country that lives on through history. So God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you so much, Sergeant Major.
All right, thank you. Thanks again to Colonel Prichard-Brown and Colonel Prichard-Allen for being with us. I'm Jack Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, and you've been enjoying Your Next Mission video podcast. And thank you for joining us. Log on to our website at yournextmission.org and leave me a review. I hope it's a good one. This should be a good one from this. While you're there, you can visit our nonprofit and corporate partners who have jobs and services available that can assist you in your transition from the military. And check out our job board in partnership with the Recruit Military, our upline, where you can create your own personal profile that will match you just with the right job, just at the real time. You can follow me on my personal social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Rumble. And if you like what we're doing with Your Next Mission, please click on that subscribe button below. And don't forget to click on the bell to receive notifications of our upcoming video podcast. Remember, we want to hear from you. Please leave me a message or send me a text at 844-424-113 or send me an email at SMA Tilley at yournextmission.org. Thanks again to Colonel Prichard-Brown and Colonel Prichard-Allen for just being on the show. What two wonderful people, two wonderful officers that care so much about our Army and our country. You know, today we're celebrating Martin Luther King, and I would tell you that each year, and we've been doing this probably for a couple of years now, and talking about his legacy, I think about the fact that have we grown? Have we made a difference? Have we made life better for all of us? You see, I said it before, there's a lot of people as good as I am, but there's nobody better, but we're all equal. And we need to treat people equally, and we need to make sure that we show everybody the proper respect. It's not about you, it's about us. It's about our country and a way of life that we don't want to ruin. So remember on this day, on his day, remember him and remember the things that he stood for all of us. Thanks for watching, and thanks to New Mind Studios and, of course, our sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union, Purdue Global, USAA, Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Dental, and Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP Vision. We appreciate all you do for our military. And as always, see you on the high ground. Hooah!
You've been listening to Your Next Mission, brought to you by the American Freedom Foundation. Learn more by visiting yournextmission.org.